Hey everyone, Skull902 here for another Let's Play. It's been a little while, nice to get back into it. This is Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels as Luigi. Now there's a couple things about that, which I'll be addressing here is, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, it looks like Mario 1, it plays like Mario 1, but this ain't no Mario 1. This is for super players, like the Japanese advertising, went and marketed the game as. It's quite difficult. Some would say damn near or even quite at the Kaizo level of difficult. For those who don't know, Kaizo Mario is like a hack of Super Mario World that makes the game unbelievably difficult. Here's me making a completely unnecessary double fire flower shot there. Anyway. Again, for super players, that's not to be taken lightly. This game was specifically designed to cater to those who had mastered, like, not just beaten or completed or whatever. It's, the people that mastered Super Mario Bros. 1. And the game wasn't released in the United States at first. And I'll get into the reasons for that later on, but the point of this whole shindig is that Lost Levels is unbelievably difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. Even if you're not going for a complete run, warpless like I am here. Now, the other thing that I mentioned was that I am playing as Luigi. There's no two-player mode in this game. Unlike, Super Mario Bros. 1. Instead, they've replaced it with a Mario game and a Luigi game. Now, what exactly are the differences between the Mario game and the Luigi game? Well, Luigi plays different. He plays, somewhat differently than Mario. And by somewhat, I actually mean kind of significantly. So, the most immediate differences you'll see are the jump height. Luigi, now, instead of being a clone of Mario, jumps much higher than Mario. And, as well, Luigi has much poorer traction than Mario does. So he ends up being more slippery in moments like that where he's sliding. So it's a bit harder to regain your bearings after, getting some momentum and trying to do precise platforming in order to complete levels. So that's interesting. Luigi's top speed, I believe, is also faster than Mario's. But the trade-off there is Luigi's acceleration, I believe, is slower than Mario's. So what that means is to say that Luigi takes longer to get to his top speed than Mario takes to get to his top speed. These changes make Luigi's game even harder than Mario's. But I feel like having played this game so much when I was a kid, I got this, again, like I've said many times before, Christmas Day 2001 with my Super Nintendo. I feel like I could take the challenge. I definitely feel like I could take the challenge. And while this recording was painful, it wasn't the end of the world for me. I actually seem to like Lost Levels more than a lot of other Mario fans, I've noticed. It's definitely a game of its time. There's certainly quite a few unfair parts. Let me tell you about C3, or C4 rather, though C3 is no cakewalk either. It's got its unfair moments, but at its core, like, it is what it was designed to be. And I hope to bring you an entertaining experience here as we find out that the princess isn't in World 1-4. Damn it, we couldn't beat the game immediately. So, about the game not coming to America. Well, this was a release for the Famicom Disk System, in 1986, just 1 year after Mario 1 was made, and apparently The inspiration to even do this sequel was because of the arcade version of Mario 1, where they added in some harder levels. And Miyamoto and co. were just like, yo, what if we did an entire Mario game with much harder levels? And I guess the crew were down with that idea, so bam, they made it. But when it came time to test the game out for a international release, it was Nintendo of America specifically that vetoed it, and I guess that also meant that the European market wasn't going to get the game either. I'm not sure about that, if Nintendo of America's decisions affected releases in Europe or whatnot, but basically the point was, I guess the testers found that the game was unbelievably difficult, and considering factors behind the console crash in North America that had only happened a few years before, and with this game looking not exactly in the 8-bit versions, but very similarly and playing very similarly to Super Mario Bros. 1, Howard Lincoln pulled the plug on its release. It was too samey and it was too difficult. Were the reasons given for why it wasn't given an initial release in the North American market. So, we first saw this game as the re-release and retitled Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels in Super Mario All-Stars in 1993. They did make a couple changes to how progression in the game works and everything, but for the most part, it's the same. They also made it uniform in terms of graphics with Mario 1. So that's essentially the story of this game's release history. It's a very interesting tale, I'll say. I know I wasn't, like, when I first was experiencing these games, I wasn't so sure what to make of Lost Levels. What the hell does that mean? But basically, this game and it being so hard and samey is why we got a reskinned Doki Doki Panic over here. Because in Japan, this isn't Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. This is Super Mario Bros. 2. So, our Mario 2, it can be debated on whether it's the real Mario 2 or not. Speaking of Mario 2, that's the only one of the games on the All-Star Collection that I haven't beat yet. I know I'm terrible, and I have no idea whether I'll be able to do a Let's Play on that one. I mean, I would like to eventually, but we'll just have to see. Furthermore, I mentioned the All-Star version, and I mentioned it in the description. I forgot to mention it in the actual Mario 1 commentary, but yeah, for like all the future classic Mario games from now on, I'm going to be playing the All-Star ports instead of the original 8-bit versions. The changes that they made to progression are actually part of the reason why, at least in Lost Levels case. I also just think that the graphics and sound, you know, being on the Super Nintendo, are obviously much better. They made some aesthetic as well as quality of life improvements that I think just make these versions way better than the 8-bit versions. That's not to say that the 8-bit versions are bad by any means, but, you know, just saying. Just saying. As we enter the final world now, I guess I'll just conclude this part, or final level, jeez. I'll just conclude this part by saying, you know, it's kind of funny seeing how different this is compared to Mario 1, because at this point in Mario 1, I had a Fire Flower since, like, World 1-1, and you'll come to find out, actually, that Fire Flowers are a rare commodity in this game. They are a luxury that you need to savor and behold, because you won't be getting them often, and when you do, they usually do not last very long. So, just keep that in mind. Fire Flowers are a hot commodity. Selling like crack. But yeah. that's going to be it for the first part here of Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. I've been Skull902. Thank you for watching and have yourselves a wonderful day.